pirates. Well, I should have seen this one coming. We got nothing here, guys. It's asking for a password. Beck calls back to the room. Try sex, Franklin says. He's already a short distance away and examining a freshly disrupted stasis pod to try and see if there's anything he can learn from it. No, God, I mean goddess, Jake shouts over him. All right, give me a second. I don't know this language, Beck says, and then he slowly finds the keys on the unfamiliar pad and slowly taps out first one potential password and then the other two. We got nothing. Why not password? Miles asks, and Beck types that in. Nope, Beck says before blinking. Maybe. Then he throws his head back and laughs. It's default. They never changed it from default. Nice, what does it say? Franklin asks as he walks over. It needs a system update, Beck says, and then taps the controls a bit. It needs the download manually installed as the computer doesn't have any access to a network. If it's coherent enough for that, then it's coherent enough for something good to get ripped out of the hard drive later, Miles says, and Beck sighs before stepping away from the console. Hey Franklin, you're the expert on these snakes. What's this one been eating? Lou asks as he finds one of the serpents with something strange in its mouth. Let's see, Franklin says, heading over and reaching into the mouth of the serpent. The axiom twists around him and he hefts back on the meat to find Jen Taoyan, Lou says as he sees the partially digested corpse flop out. Wait, this is part of Moira, Franklin says. I can't even imagine how horrible a death like this was. Effectively a decapitated head, waking up to darkness and confusion, then some horrible many-toothed thing eats you. Good God, Jake says slowly. I misspoke. It wasn't so much that I couldn't imagine it, so much that I didn't want to. Franklin says softly. This isn't going to help that poor girl. No shit, Beck remarks. Why though? You going to elaborate on that? Miles asks. Why cut up a loyal Lidris soldier? She clearly didn't see this coming, so she was on at least okay terms with the rest of them. So why, if they had the tech to revive an extinct species, would they use an active soldier in such a stupid way and not just make a clone of her? Good question, Miles asks. Better question, how fast can we clear this place so that a team of specialists can give this mess a good once-over? Let's find out, Franklin says, and they form up behind Lou and Jake. Lou's drawn a pair of hooked swords and is running Axiom through himself as Jake has his plasma cannon hot and ready. The door opposite of the massive containment chamber is Medical Wing, one with a clear trail in the dust showing where Moira woke up from and dragged herself through the room. Well, isn't this place just lovely? Jake notes as he opens cupboard doors and closes them just as quickly to see if anything's going to jump out at him. Despite the terrible story of the room itself, there's nothing in there but dust, expired chemicals, and empty stasis beds. The next room is Axiom expanded on the inside, and there are numerous indents in the floor. There's a huge coating of dust, but still visible markings to show that some kind of machinery was removed. So whatever was taken from this room was considered more important than Moira or their resurrected animals? Franklin asks as he crouches down to get a better look. Or the chemicals, or the fetus samples. A base like this isn't exactly cheap to set up either. Scrapping it would have reimbursed them a bit, Miles remarks. So whoever did this was either very well funded and immoral, or suddenly had to go on the run and only took what absolutely couldn't be replaced. Franklin offers before he lets out a pulse of Axiom and shakes his head. That last-ditch hope to find anything but walls, floor, ceiling, or dust had come up with nothing. Maybe, maybe not. The room is clear and cleaned out. This is something else we're getting out of Moira and the computers. So let's get back to business. Miles orders and they cross the hall to find a storage room with numerous fossils. They're under some form of numbering system, but like the chemicals above, the abbreviation is of little use. These ones are from the sea serpents, Franklin says, indicated familiar bones. What was that? Beck, I need my communicator back. It's passed off and he translates the markings. So roughly translated, these are the gamma samples, implying at least an alpha and beta set. And which of these are alpha and beta? Miles asks, and Beck grabs Franklin's communicator and begins to scan the area. I think these ones are ancient fish. They're beta. Alpha here is, I don't know, some kind of frog? Looks like. I haven't seen their descendants. They might not even be native to Vuxa. Franklin agrees as he lets out a pulse of axiom. Hold on. What is it? Something feels different, Franklin says as he shoves aside several fossils and reveals another distinct bundle behind Beta. Is that Delta? Yes it is, Franklin says as he pulls out a fossilized egg that has a little tag on it. He then puts it back. Anything else back there? Miles asks, and Franklin shakes his head. No, there's mild differences in how they feel when axiom goes through them, but it's not something I've studied enough to know what it means. I just know we have 4 distinct types of sample in here. Different feelings? Beck asks, and Franklin shrugs. I could be sensing different worlds, different general type of animal, different species, different kind of stones they fossilized into. There are still a lot more options, Franklin says. So that's not very useful, Beck remarks, and Franklin rolls his eyes. Sure, why not? All right, keep moving. I want this floor clean fast. Then we're going back to the top and finishing that off before hitting the bottom. Miles orders and they leave the sample room. The next room is like the room before last. Some machinery was clearly in it, but it's all been removed. Franklin lets out another axiom pulse and his eyes widen before he starts brushing aside some dust and pulls out a small data chit out of one of the grooves. He tosses it to Miles. It's damaged, but not completely. Salvageable? Maybe? It's intact enough to be worth a shot, Franklin replies. One more room on this level, move out, Miles says, and they form up on the next doorway. It's then booted open and tables, chairs, a fridge, and plush couches. We found a break room. Finally, I was starting to wonder if this place was run by synths or something. Jake notes, even synths need to take a break now and again. Granted, it's mostly to break up tedium, but still, Franklin says as he walks at an almost gliding pace to the fridge and opens the door, before immediately slamming it as something was left behind and it had caused an entire reeking ecology to develop in the closed space. Oh God, that was nasty. Oh, come on, I doubt it was that bad. Jake chides Franklin even as the axiom adept staggers away from the ancient fridge. He then cracks it open. Jesus Christ! The door is slammed to the room and there are some badly suppressed snickers through the room, even as everyone else quickly goes through all the cupboards and checks behind everything. Then Miles speaks up. Fun's over, you two. Franklin ping the room with axiom and see if there are any goodies lying around. Franklin snorts out a bit and nods before sending out a pulse. He then crouches down and holds out his hand. He then holds up a credit disc. Hey, a girdle. That's it? Miles asks as Franklin rises up and flips the coin. Seems to be, he says, pocketing it. That's this level clear then. Miles says, we're going up. Franklin, fly us. All right, let's get moving, Franklin says as the dust around him suddenly vanishes and the axiom visibly wavers before everyone is lifted off the floor. In a V formation directly behind Franklin, they all fly before shooting up between the massive steps, and he lands everyone down on the upper landing. If it's like the level below, there should be 2 labs, 2 storage rooms, and a bathroom, Miles says. Form up. They confirm it all: a bathroom, a chemical lab, a fetal storage room, another lab, and a chemical lab. Nothing different. Not even a burner left on by accident or a sample jar broken on the floor. It's almost disappointing. That was nice and painless. Down to the abyss, Mr. Elevator, Lou says, and Franklin gives him a curious look. All right, this way then, Franklin says as he leads them to the stairwell without lifting anyone. He's followed, and then he steps out into the void and falls. The other 4 men look over the side as he disappears downwards, and there's the sound of boots hitting the floor far below. Come on, you ninnies! Miles jumps first, and Lou, Jake, and Beck follow in that order. If we go splat, I'm blaming you, Jake, Beck calls down. Why me? Jake demands as the floor rushes up. Then they all land. Nothing slowed them, but there's no pain, no injury, or anything to suggest they took more than a single step down. Well, I have to blame someone, Beck says. Stow it, girls. We're checking these rooms. Let's hope there's a pattern break. It's depressing to keep finding parts of Moira welded to some sort of monster and dead in her room, Franklin remarks before sighing. And I just jinxed it, didn't I? Oh, probably. Come on, guys. Let's see what kind of mess Franklin has conjured for us, Miles says, and they quickly check the hall. Nothing. Then form up on the relevant door. It's opened and their weapons are pointed inside. There's a pause, and as nothing happens, the men relax and enter the room to properly check it. There's another body in this one, same smell as before. But unlike the other two, the room is downright peaceful. What's different about this version of Moira's extremely abused other selves is that it has 4 massive legs on the lower body, and not just 2. And that's the reptile, Miles notes. We've seen the sea serpent, we've seen the fish, and now the lizard. Where's the frog equivalent? We still have at least 6 more rooms to check, Franklin says as Jake goes through the intact cabinet and finds that it's been emptied. Why is this one so much calmer than the others is the real question. Why is having 4 legs rather than a fishtail or a sea serpent tail so much less traumatizing for Moira? Jake asks as he finishes his quick search, and Franklin lets out a small axiom pulse to scan the room. Nothing I can pick up, beyond a strangely unmolested room at least, Franklin says, and Miles nods. Mystery later, let's check the last few rooms and be done with this, Miles says, and they immediately go across the hallway and open the door. They had expected either a bathroom or a storage room. Instead, there's a large machine that smells like death and several empty sample containers on a table next to it. Interestingly, the machine has a huge hole in the side as if someone hit it with a burst of plasma. A burst that went clean through and opened up a hole in the wall to the next room over. One that Franklin sends a ball of light through before pulsing some axiom. Another lab on that side. The damage is mostly hidden under the counter though, Franklin confirms. Okay, but what is this machine? Beck asks. They destroyed what appears to be a computer core. So what was so horrible about this that instead of being left behind or taken with them, that they instead destroyed it entirely? Well, we have an open hopper here. It looks like a wood chipper almost. So it's some kind of disposal device? One that records what goes into it, so they popped it to hide these samples? Maybe they tried to cover up something they got rid of with these samples, realized it wasn't enough, then destroyed the heart of the machine? Jake reasons out. Nothing weird here unless there's something on the axiom end, Miles asks, and Franklin gives out a pulse, and he then stands up and opens up a cupboard. He pulls out the drawer entirely and holds it out for Miles to see. Inside, there is not only a one-handed plasma caster, but a data slate, both in excellent condition. I don't understand. Why would they make a mistake like this? Miles asks. Maybe not everyone agreed with whatever was going on. Maybe they were in shock. We have no way of knowing. Franklin asks, and Miles activates the data slate. It's in galactic trade, a single file. Miles notes before activating it. To whomsoever reads this, pray for our damned and wretched souls, for our crimes cannot be forgiven, and I go now to forget them.